Welcome to a casual recap of the Knicks 2022-2023 regular season. We have two inconsequential games left, and the Knicks have clinched, or how the cool kids say it, I guess the Knicks have X'd the 5 seed. I'm XJ. I'm here with my two friends, Mensa and Shawn with a W, to break down what was a very successful regular season for the New York Knicks. We're gonna get into all of our micro and macro takeaways on the season that was. But first, as is our tradition on Casual Fridays, let's do a quick vibe check. Guys, what's good? Mensa, how are the vibes?
The vibes are the best they have been since I've been a Knicks fan. Up and down season, we can get into the recap a little later, but man, oh man, am I proud of this team, especially after we sat our three highest usage basketball players and proceeded to watch Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, and Quentin Grimes drop 30 each, 30 plus each. The vibes are as good as they've ever been. Short term, long term, you can name it. The best I've ever seen them.
Shawn, how you feeling?
I would say the vibes are pressure free because literally, the vibes are relaxed because, as you said in the intro, we have 2 games left. They're inconsequential. I think John had a tweet earlier, either yesterday or earlier this week, where he said, like, this is the first time the Knicks have had games that have not meant anything since 2013 because either we were fighting to get into the playoffs or we were fighting for lottery position. And last night we're taping, Wednesday night, you saw a team that played relaxed. How many threes did Obi have? 11? Like the fact that we had 3 players with 30 plus and 5 made threes for the first time since 1979. And all 3 of them are players that we drafted, and 2 of them are drafted in 20s. So we're relaxed, and hopefully we can relax until tax day because that's the next time the Knicks play a game that means anything.
Yeah, I could not say it any better than you both already said it. I completely concur with everything that you said. I feel relaxed. The vibes are completely spotless, blemish free, fresh out the dishwasher. Like anything you want to say on that, like it's just perfect. It's the best it's been since possibly 2012, possibly before. I mean, the fact that we're talking about these 3 young players that just each had a great game in the same game, aggregating 107 points in a single game. I don't care if it's literally against the G League All-Stars, if it's against the Duke Blue Devils. Like, I'm hype about that. Like, that's great to see. That's the kind of thing you want to see. And we're going into the postseason. We got these 2 games coming up where we can just chill and relax, like Shawn said. I'm just feeling great, feeling very, very, very calm, very ready to go into this Cavs series. But first, let's just take a look back at the season. Let's recap and let's take a look back at the season that was. In our quick pre-show meeting right before this, we talked about, like, what are the themes we want to hit on. I don't know if you're saying something, Shawn. You were muted, but
I was saying our pre-show meeting took an hour because that's so much time and effort that we put into this. All right, so you know.
An hour. I felt like 90 minutes. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 2. It's not clear to me. But we talked about the themes that we want to hit on, and we all 3 of us came down on one thing. One of the big recaps, the big takeaways on this season. And we'll talk about more. But maybe we'll just close the book on this one.
Emmanuel, hold on one second. I need to go grab my glass for the Celtic tears. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
On that note, Emmanuel Quickly, his case for 6th Man of the Year. Can we close the book on the 6th Man of the Year conversation? We're 80 games in the season. We got 2 games left. Things are not going to change now. I've seen a lot of stuff on social, seen a lot of stuff on the ESPNs, the Fox Sports. I don't watch that too much, but I see stuff on there. What do you guys think? Can we close the book on this chapter? And where are we with it?
Oh, so I'll jump in really fast. I'd like to say that Malcolm Brogdon has been outstanding this year. He's been great. And I know we want to say that it's a lifetime achievement award if he gets the Sixth Man of the Year award, but I do believe that Malcolm Brogdon deserves the Seventh Man of the Year award. Definitely, because the idea of a sixth man is you are, the sixth, which means that if one of the five, like we can do math, right? If one of the five, like if I was sixth place, right, and the second place guy got disqualified and they had to reevaluate
Yeah,
the standings, and that one is gone, then I would now be one of the five. So
that's how that works.
the
Yeah,
idea that Emmanuel quickly started 21 games or however many games, I think it's been 19 so far. He started and that's been the boost in his stats. First of all, I'm not dumb. Second of all, impact is impact. Third of all, that's the point. That is the point. A guy that is so valuable in his role that he is actually a good starter on another team where there's an opportunity. The New York Knicks have had opportunity after opportunity arise for Emmanuel quickly to show his stuff and start. And we've seen what he's doing. I think what it is, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I think what it is when Emmanuel quickly started against them and had that double overtime performance and showed everybody around the NBA who's who. I think that's why Celtics fans are so angry because, like, oh, well, if he didn't start, no. Just because Emmanuel quickly took your ass and handed it back to you does not mean that he does not deserve to be a sixth man and that his stats are somehow inflated.
that guy's a
So,
starter. That guy's a starter. You brought that starter to the garden.
start in the garden, right? No, we need to stop whatever that is that's going on up in the New England area because it's not. Come on, man. Like let's be smart about this and then you can look at all the other guys who won Sixth Man of the Year after starting a good amount of games. And I believe the actual qualification for it is did not start as many games as he came off the bench. So why are we now moving the goalposts? And I just let's quit. Let's be adults and give it up for Emmanuel quickly, the rightful Sixth Man of the Year.
That quickly got he's a good player, but he's not six man of the year. Sprogdon's award right there. All right. I don't want to hear that fucking bullshit. All right. It's fucking bullshit. Get that shit out of here. Look, I always say that well, I've not said that, but many people have said that the heaviest jersey in the league is orange and blue. And part of the reason that jersey is the heaviest is because the New York Knicks made the fatal mistake of being bad during the rise of social media. And for many people, basketball didn't start till 2009. So they have only seen they've only seen one way for the most part. So it's hard for them to compute or digest that this team could actually be good at stuff and win stuff. It was just interesting because when I was growing up, the New England Patriots were the laughingstock of the league, and no one believed they could win the Super Bowl, and then they did, and now they've completely turned it around. I say that to say this: a lot of people just have a hard time looking at some 6'3" diminutive guard from the New York Knicks in his third season to be Sixth Man of the Year. And they have gone to so many lengths. Like the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts has been rage tweeting about why Brogdon is it. And you know what? It's one thing to say I think Malcolm Brogdon should be Sixth Man of the Year, because not like he has no case, but I see tweets like, there is no doubt in my mind that Malcolm Brogdon is a Sixth Man of the Year. There is Emmanuel quickly has no case for Sixth Man of the Year. And and of course, a website owned by a Celtics fan put up a post today, had a story today about why Malcolm Brogdon was the sixth man of the year. And I was like, oh, what a surprise. You know what's funny? Bill Simmons always says he has Knicks fans in his life. He can't find one of them to write for his stinking website. Not one. Can I get one? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Look, Jamal Crawford started 24 games in 2014 and won. Lou Williams started 18 games in 2018 and won. Eric Gordon started 15 games in 2017 and won. And I'm pretty sure if I went into the tweets of the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I would not find any pushback on those people winning sixth man of the year. But when it's their guy against the New Yorker, no, we can't have it. No, can't have it. All right, listen, man. Look, listen. Again, Malcolm Brogdon is a fine player. I don't have to shit on Malcolm Brogdon to big up Emmanuel quickly. But like Mensa said, the award is locked up the day Emmanuel Quickly was skipping around the TD Garden for 55 minutes en route to 38 points. And the fact that it happened on their floor in front of their player, it burns. And you know what? They're going to have to put that in their pipe and smoke it. And that's it. And I can go through the stats and I can go through the metrics, this, that, and third. But like, listen, I watch the games. And half of the game is defense. And you want to talk about defense? Want to go there? You want to go there? I go there. Anyway, so listen, it's over. Just get over it. He's going to get the award. And listen, like if I'm a Celtics fan, I'd be like, listen, I'm trying to win a championship. I don't care about six man. That's what they should be saying. But, you know, the Knicks can't have nice things, can they?
I mean, Shawn, the last thing you said, they should be like, yeah, we're trying to win a championship. We're not worried about sixth man of the year, because that's the only place left to go with this argument for Celtics fans, unfortunately. This is done. This race is over. It's not a race. I don't think the voting is going to be close. You guys know where I want to go. I want to close the book on something we talked about several weeks ago on this very podcast when I presented the data-driven case for why, at that point, Emmanuel Quickly was and should be the unanimous sixth man of the year in the NBA. So I definitely want to go to the numbers and kind of close the book on that. But I just want to say, if the arguments that I see from Celtics fans are like, this guy is really a starter, like he's too good. He really is a starter, and he's
too good to be a bench player. He should be a starter. Too good to be a bench player.
Like the guy has come off the bench for 78% of the games this season. 78% of the games. So, as Mensa said, the rule, the qualification is you've come off the bench more games than you started. He clears that easily. He's only started 21% of the games this year. It's not close. Once you go to like, hey, this guy really has started too many games and he's been too dominant in those games that he started, you lost the argument. But let's just go. I just want to go for the sake of closing the loop, closing the book, closing the door on this conversation. Let's finish it here. This is a sixth man of the year award that's coming down to two finalists, Emmanuel Quickly, Malcolm Brogdon. Let's just quickly, no pun intended, revisit the numbers. Let's see how Quickly and Brogdon stack up with regard to their impact on their teams over a full season. So the data that I'm about to share, these data encompass the full season. They aren't weighted by recent performances or recency bias or to any specific part of the season. Like none of that. It's a full season. We're talking 80 games. We have 2 games left in the season. We have an 80 game sample size that we're talking about. Evenly weighted. Let's just talk about these impact metrics. First up, estimated plus minus or EPM. In metric comparison studies, EPM is typically ranked as the most accurate, has the lowest prediction error, also voted on as the most trusted one number metric by data people around the league. Brogdon will finish the season with an EPM of about plus 0.2. Let me contextualize that. Brogdon is an excellent player. That plus 0.2 is in the 73rd percentile of all players in the NBA. That is excellent. He is an excellent player, highly valuable, You'll see it from his counting stats. Looking at his estimated wins contributed based on EPM, which factors in playing time, Brogdon is at 3.7, which is, again, 75th percentile. Excellent player. I am not taking away anything from Brogdon. I'm not saying he's trash. None of that stuff. He's really good. Very good for the Celtics. Has been good mostly his entire career. Let's go to quickly. IQ has an EPM of plus 2.1. That's in the 87th percentile of the NBA. His estimated wins contributed is 7.8. You didn't mishear me. According to EPM, IQ has added more than double the number of wins that Brogdon has added. More than double. This is not close. We're not talking a close race. We're not talking neck and neck. More than double. Let's go to the next one. LeBron. Brogdon's LeBron is plus 0.28, and his wins added, which again measures total aggregate impact, is 2.4. IQ's LeBron plus 1.64. His wins added is 4.8. Again, double the number of wins added as Malcolm Brogdon. These are two high-level impact metrics. Double. Next, Darko or daily plus minus. Brogdon DPM plus 0.4. Quickly's DPM plus 1.9. Final metric I'm going to cite, because I just wanted to go through this really quickly. 538's Raptor. Brogdon's overall Raptor is plus 1.8, and his Raptor wins above replacement is 4.1. Emmanuel Jalen Quickly, overall Raptor 3.3. Raptor WAR is 7.0. Guys, Celtics fans, Bucks fans, I don't know, Clippers fans of any other team, the sixth man of the year race is over. This is done. This is over. There's no more conversation to be had. It's a runaway for Quickly. Let's please stop embarrassing ourselves, making pathetic arguments for Brogdon that don't make sense, that are irrational, that are just sad. Focus on winning a title this year. The Celtics have a very solid chance. Let's tie the knot. Let's cut the, I don't know. Let's just end the conversation here. And I want Shawn to finish it off.
When you read off that stat about 7.8 wins added, it made me think yes, because there are games where we were missing a player and the head coach decided, all right, I'm missing a guy. Who am I going to put in his place? And chose Emmanuel Quickly. So you mean to tell me that Emmanuel Quickly should be penalized because his coach thought that the guy on the bench gave him the best chance to win? Say that shit out loud 3 times and tell me if it makes sense. Emmanuel Quickly should not win Sixth Man of the Year because his coach thought that he gave him the best chance to win when one of his starters was out. And you know why he thought that way? Because guess who Emmanuel Quickly is? He's the sixth man. The defense rests.
So now that we've shut the door on that conversation, hopefully we can put this to rest. We won't have to talk about it again until the announcement is made that Quickly is 1 6 man of the year. Potentially, in my opinion, one of the biggest blowouts for 6 man of the year that we've seen in a few years. Speaking of Emmanuel Quickly, I think we wanted to segue and just talk about, amongst the three of us, some of the predictions that we are most proud of. Mine has to do with IQ, but, I don't want to go first. I want one of you two to kind of kick us off here and just talk about some of the predictions that we're most proud of and some of the predictions that, might look the worst at this point in time. Let's have a conversation about that.
Okay, I'll start. So this one has been bandied about on the timeline and on TV and radio and podcasts, whatever. And Lord knows I'm not the first person to have said it, and I'm not alone. I'm not on an island. But I just like to revisit the Jalen Brunson discussion in the summertime because it became abundantly clear when the brain trust of the New York Knicks front office showed up to that playoff game, of which many people thought I don't know who the hell they were scouting. They were scouting both of them, Mitchell and Jalen Brunson. And it was apparently clear that was going to be their target. And I said, all right, what's it going to take to sign this guy? It's probably going to take between $20 and $25 million a year, which when you first think about it is like, holy shit. especially if you're an older fan who remembers that 20 million a year used to be a max. That was what Amari Stoudemire got from us in 2010. 5 years, 100 million. And then I sat there, I said, and it started flying. And the funny thing is, it's so amazing how like everyone loved Jalen Brunson when he was giving Donovan Mitchell the business in the playoffs. And then as soon as the links to the Knicks got real, all of a sudden it's, well, the year before he wasn't that good. He got benched for whoever, I forget who. Rick Carlisle benched him for somebody. Trey Burke, I think it was. And he's short and he's this, that, and he's not athletic and da-da-da. I was like, I literally just saw him bust Donovan Mitchell's ass and help the Mavericks beat the Jazz without Luka Doncic for half the series. And I remember looking up, okay, this does say he's going to make $25 million a year. And I remember going to Spot Track and I looked at I ranked all of the point guards by salary. And he slotted in right in the middle. Like he was around, I have a tweet somewhere, I'll look for it, but I think he was around, he would have been either the 15th or 16th highest paid point guard in the league. So I was like, okay, this guy's getting, if he signs at this number, he's getting market value. And the amount of people outside the fan base, as well as inside the fan base, who clutch their pearls about just giving this guy this money. And I'm like, do you see who we've been running out at point guard the last 20 years? Like, my prediction was this: we are not going to regret this signing. I didn't say, and I thought it would be a bargain when the cap spot when the cap spot went up. I'm like, we're signing at market value, and I had people saying, he's going to be the first non-all-star to get $100 million. Only the Knicks, yada yada yada, and literally within 2 weeks, all that bullshit went up in smoke. And now we have Charles Barkley, who will bang on a modern player as much as anybody will, saying that is arguably the greatest free agent signing of all time. So I'm just, I wish other people would just take a step back and when I understand Knicks PTSD is real, right? I understand that, I remember the Antonio McDyess trade. I remember this Eddie Curry trade. I remember the Andre Bargnani trade. I remember all that stuff. But when it comes down to this, I mean, where would we be without this guy? And think about it. And I'll wrap up here. The New York Knicks went out, and remember the wrap on the Knicks. No one goes to New York. No free agents ever go to New York. And the Knicks went to the Western Conference Finals and said, thank you. Have a good day. And they've been in shambles to this day. So I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. Because especially on an episode when we're talking about recapping the season, what would this season be without Jalen Brunson? I remember early in the season, Mac Reed was having basically a podcast by a post game by a post game. This is not a game we would have won without Jalen Brunson. We would have been 2-9 at the time. It was ridiculous. And I agreed wholeheartedly. So Jalen Brunson, being right about Jalen Brunson is something you should absolutely be beating your chest about, because we would, if this was 3 years from now and all NBA was positionless, we'd be having a serious conversation about which all NBA team does Jalen Brunson belong on. For the Knicks to go out and sign him flat out was amazing. And I think a lot of the pushback at the time was due to this idea that Dallas knew better than the New York Knicks because, they had him for 4 years and, they didn't want to give him 55. So the Knicks paying him 100 is crazy. Blah, 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 blah. Bunch of stupidness, because we've just seen Mark Cuban. Oh boy, does Mark Cuban look terrible. Oh my goodness. Shout out to Rick Brunson for being a good dad and getting his son out of a place where his son was not valued. We are not going to shame Rick Brunson for doing what any father would have done if given the same situation. But let's really talk about this. Actually, no, we're not going to talk about Mark Cuban. I feel like I've given him enough energy, but I do want to say that he cannot handle being worse than Jim Dolan, and he is now like breaking down, and we're watching it happen in 4K. It's glorious, and I love the tears.
Mensa, is Mark Cuban a worse owner than Jim Dolan?
Absolutely. Like if we're
I
talking
think
about
it's not.
hilarious.
I think it's not close.
That's
if we're talking-
hilarious.
like imagine how good the Knicks would have. Like, okay, what is Mark Cuban's Dallas Mavericks without Dirk Nowitzki, right? Dirk Nowitzki was great, excellent. You can argue that Luka Doncic is a similar, if not superior talent, and those boys are struggling to get into the play-in. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. One of my favorite rappers ever, Jay-Z, on Lost One said, I heard MF is saying they made Hove. Made Hove say, okay, so make another Hove. It looks like Mark Cuban can't make another Hove. And I love it because he let Jalen Brunson go. And we are the beneficiaries for it. People made fun of us for moving heaven and earth. Like, oh, the Knicks moved heaven and earth for Jalen Brunson. He all right. He's more than all right. He's borderline all NBA and he's ours. And we didn't pay a damn thing for him. Shout out to Alec Burks. But to move on to Shawn, do you have something you want to say?
I was going to say real quickly, I found a tweet. At the time, it was June 3rd of 2022. He's going to be the 14th highest paid point guard in the league. Like, we needed a point guard. He got the best one available by market rate. That was a win. I also had a friend of mine on Twitter, shout out to Jada Wakanda Tech Support, and he said he's a Laker fan. And he said 2 years ago, he said Mark Cuban is James Dolan in a 10-gallon hat. And and I actually think now that's not fair to Jim Dolan because Jim Dolan has not interfered in one basketball decision in 10 years. But narrative, Jim Dolan's the worst. Like, there's a tweet, my man Hoop Spaces put out a tweet, who's worse, Cuban or Dolan, and Dolan is winning like 54% to 46%. I'm just like, you're not paying attention at all. You are not paying attention at all.
Yeah, so shout out to Jim Dolan for staying out of the business. His problem early on, his problem has always been that he trusted the wrong people, but he's always been an owner that spent money and got out of the way. That is not the same for Mark Cuban. But to move on to my Jalen Brunson segue to my prediction that I'm most proud of, it is when everybody was saying the Knicks are going to win 36, 37, 38. Vegas had the line, I think, at 38 and a half. I was very, very, very certain that this team was going to win 47 games. Why was I certain about that? Because I like numbers and I don't like to be stupid. So the Knicks were by Pythagorean win, which is the expected win-loss, which is a lot of times in wins and losses, we will have there can be some randomness. There can be some noise there, like especially like in the clutch where a team loses a lot of close games, but they actually perform better. They should have won by the stats. The Knicks last year lost a lot of close games for different stupid reasons that I don't want to talk about. We underperformed our Pythagorean win-loss, I think, we were supposed to be 41-41, and we ended at 37-45. So we were 4 games worse than our Pythagorean win-loss. I figured this was a 41-win team that got rid of the nonsense point guard play and added Jalen Brunson. I also figured that our young players were due to progress, and I thought that would be worth at least 6 wins on top of the 41 wins. So I said 47-35, which was 9 wins higher than where Vegas had us, which is where you can go down the list, Bleacher Report, ESPN, anybody who writes nationally, who writes locally, that did a Knicks win-loss prediction got it wrong. I got it right. I was very proud of that because I did not let narrative bias get in the way. Some people called me a homer for it. They told me I was way too optimistic, and it looks like by next weekend, my prediction will be pessimistic because the Knicks have 49 wins on the table. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that I believed in this team because at the end of the day, we are a fan-driven podcast. We are a nation of fans, and it's important that we believe in our guys. And I believed in them, and they did not make me look like an idiot. So I'm very proud of that. And we can keep going, man. Like I'm really happy to see where the Knicks have gone, especially because like the way the season started, we were teetering around 500. We were the mid Knicks, And they did not accept that. Tom Thibodeau made some great adjustments in season, especially from the moment we went to the 9-man rotation. I believe we are, I want to say 37-20 since the 9-man rotation was installed. I think that's December 4th. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so forgive me if I'm a little off.
I can check that for you because I actually tweeted that like 2 days ago.
Yeah, because I tweeted, I think we were like 36-20, and we've won a game since then. So I think it's 37-20. But again, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Very, very, very proud of the way this team has played since then, since we got rid of Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier to one guy that is literally like Tom Thibodeau's guy. Like that's Tom Thibodeau's guy, Derrick Rose. He sat him down for the good of the team. We got to see Deuce McBride get some really good minutes early, especially on that December 4th game, which is really what gave me the confidence that the New York Knicks can compete with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because when we threw Deuce McBride and Quentin Grimes on Donovan Mitchell, and he did not play well that night. He took a lot of shots, and I think he ended up scoring a lot of points, but the efficiency was not there from him. I saw a new Knicks team. And from that point to now, if the Knicks didn't play Evan Fournier, and if Quentin Grimes was healthy early on, we could be looking at a 50-win team, a 50-plus win team, because that's the pace they're playing at since December 4th. And then the Josh Hart trade, but moving on from Quentin Grimes and being smart about which pick to get rid of as far as the New York Knicks pick or the Dallas Mavericks pick, betting on ourselves all throughout this season, watching Julius Randle come back and bet on himself, watching Jalen Brunson literally leave the shadow of Luka Doncic and say, I can run my own team, bet on himself, watching Emmanuel quickly play, watching even Obi Toppin in his short moments. Just the entire team has made me so proud this season. And I predicted they would win 47 games. They could do better than that. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I was a lot higher on these Knicks than a lot of other people, because I, as somebody who likes to spend money on sports wagers, I think that the New York Knicks, being right about sports is something that can pay. So I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of what the Knicks have showed me this season.
Yeah, those are both money predictions and things that both of you should be proud of. I'm going to talk about mine, but just so you all know, we're not only going to talk about things that we were right about, we're also going to talk about things that we were wrong about. But first, what I will say is the thing that I'm most proud of predicting is something I said on this very podcast or very early on in the season. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because we've talked about this player quite a bit already. My prediction was that Emmanuel Quickley would be a borderline all-star. And not only that, he'd be the third man in the Knicks big three. We have Julius Randle, we have Jalen Brunson, and we have other guys who could compete for that third spot, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett. I thought it'd be Emmanuel Quickley. And by the season's end, he is the third most important player on this team. And with Randall out at this point, might be the second most important player on this team. But we talked a lot about Quickley. So something else I want to talk about, a prediction, sort of a prediction that I made, or maybe a proclamation, is that the Knicks have the best roster in the NBA 3 through 9. Something I've been talking about all season. And we spoke a little bit about EPM, estimated plus minus. Something I looked up a little earlier today is that the Knicks are the only team in the NBA to have 6 players in the top 90 in EPM and in the top 80 in estimated wins. 6 different players in the top 90. According to EPM, we have 6 of the top 90 players in the NBA on one team, the only team in the NBA who can claim that. That means a lot. And let me tell you what else. That doesn't include guys like Isaiah Hartenstein and Obi Toppin, who were both in this group last year. Both of them were in this same group last year, and they are not on that group this year. So we have 6 guys in addition to those 2. And also doesn't include RJ Barrett, who we know is 22 years old and easily has the potential to be in that group, and potential-wise could be one of the highest in that group. This is a huge deal. This is just a little bit of data to support the idea that we have the best squad in the NBA, 3 through 9. And to be honest, one of the reasons why it's so huge is that if the Knicks wanted to go in this direction, they could trade for a star and still have the requisite high-level role pieces to still compete. And this is a thought that was triggered for me by a post by Stacey Patton of the Strickland on Twitter, and it got me thinking. His post got me thinking, like, a lot of these teams, they trade their guys, their role players, and all their picks away for a star. How do you get these role players back when you traded all your role players and the picks, which is normally how you acquire role players that are really good and can support a star to win a championship? So you traded all those guys away and you got the star. How do you reacquire those role players? It seems like the best way to do that is to have a surplus of high-level role players such that you can trade away a few, you keep some, and now you have the star and the role players. And the Knicks are perfectly positioned, and I would argue, best position in the NBA to be able to trade away high-level role players, retain high-level role players, and be ready to compete for a championship immediately. Not be out there searching on the buyout market, not be out there begging guys to come to the team who could be washed up, but maybe they got a little life left in them, and maybe they'll take a little cut to potentially win a championship in New York. No, we'll have those guys here already. So I'm super excited about that potential. That's definitely looking forward. We're talking about the season in retrospect, but just as far as a prediction, I just genuinely believed that the Knicks have the best, and I believed at the beginning, the Knicks had the best roster in the NBA 3 through 9. And, we're stacked. We got the deepest team in the league. So that's something to be excited about. And that's something that I think has been demonstrated over the course of the season. And Shawn, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I think John had referenced it during the pod of Jeremy, but Nick Friedel on the Hoop Collective said that, even though he wouldn't surprise him, he expects Cleveland to beat us in the first round. In terms of future, he'd rather have the Knicks' future than Cleveland's, because Cleveland, yes, they have the star. They don't have the superstar, but they have a star, and we can have that discussion another time. But they yielded control of 5 consecutive drafts for that star. So what they're banking on is in-house development, not like, oh, what we're going to do to get the next guy, because they really can't get the next guy. So yeah, listen, we are in a very good place. Like, we have the talent, and we have the talent, and we have the assets.
Yeah, really quickly, I don't like just a yes or no answer. I don't want to turn this into a podcast. Hindsight being 2020, do you think, knowing value at the time, do you think Cleveland should have offered Evan Mobley instead of Lauri Markkanen? Hindsight being 2020.
No.
How about you, XJ?
I know it's not good podcasting. We have dead air, but that's a big question for me. I am so high on Lauri Markkanen, and I am not as high on Evan Mobley as some people are. I know it's almost
that's not my guy.
People believe it is a foregone conclusion that he is going to be a max guy and this super impactful guy. I mean, on defense, he's excellent. Is his offense going to come around to that level? That is not a foregone conclusion to me. That's a tough question, Mensa. I don't have an answer right now.
I think he was, knowing what we know now, they absolutely should have traded Evan Mobley, because you're talking about Lauri Markkanen and Jarrett Allen as your 4 and your 5 next to Donovan Mitchell. Oh my goodness. That would be unstoppable, especially with the way Lauri shoots the ball. Like, you can sacrifice on the rim protection. You can get a backup big, right? So I personally, in hindsight, especially knowing that adding Evan Mobley would have lowered the pick cost, you wouldn't have to trade it away 5 years of your draft unprotected. It may have been 3 years. It may have been Evan Mobley and picks 25, 27 unprotected with the 26 swap. And you have Lauri Markkanen with Jarrett out. Oh my goodness. I would have been picking them to win the championship, to be honest. They would have been lights out. And Evan Mobley, like, we don't have he might be good in 3 years. He might be good next year. We don't know. Lauri Markkanen is great right now, and they went all in. I don't know. I think they made a mistake there.
You said you don't want to start a podcast, so I'm not going to say anything.
And the podcast has started.
I mean, we can go down. No, we can go down a rabbit hole. We're not going to do that. So, but that's a good question though. I
It's a
said
really
no
good
because I said
question.
no
Yeah.
because of the defense. You think like
The
the offense
defense
could
is the
come around because
question.
the defense you can't teach. So that's why. But honestly, the point that you're making, like, yeah, those guys offensively, Jesus Christ. So,
With DG, oh my goodness.
yeah. So we'll see.
Well, let's spin it. You know, we all did our victory laps and gave ourselves pats on the back, well deserved, because these are tough calls that we made, and all seem to be completely true. Let's maybe talk about our worst takes in with the season in hindsight. What were our worst takes at the beginning of the season?
Who wants to start with their terrible take? I'll start. Sometime in October, it was a Friday night. I was sitting in my backyard on a Twitter space because, that's what I do on Friday nights. And, a lot of discussions were had, yada, yada, yada. And then the discussion turned to Evan Fournier. And while recognizing Evan Fournier has limitations, do not get me wrong. I always, and people were saying like, why is he still playing? He should be DF. He should be on the bench. Look if he could do it to Duncan Robinson, we could do it here. And I always kept going back to the point that I was like, yo, we need shooting. Like, we've been yelling for years how we needed shooting, and he's a career 38% 3-point shooter. So that night, I tweeted, Evan Fournier has a place on this team, and I will die on that hill. And guess what? I'm dead. And I'm rolling down the hill.
Oh,
now, I will
goodness.
say this. The idea that Evan Fournier's next team is going to be the Shanghai Sharks is ridiculous. Like, again, he's a career 38% 3-point shooter. You will see him on an NBA. His next team will be an NBA team. And if it's in the proper role, you'll be like, oh, look, it's Evan Fournier. But for this team, it just didn't work. Because what this team needed, especially next to Jalen Brunson, especially next to a point guard who defensively leaves something to be desired, playing in front of one player who eats popcorn while playing D, and another player who has the ability to play defense, but for whatever reason, I don't know what's going on with him. It just didn't work. And shout out to Tom Thibodeau for saying, like, you know what? This ain't going to work. This ain't going to work. This ain't going to work. And he sat him. So listen, I said that because I figured there was a way. If you're Tom Thibodeau, you can get a top 10 defense. If you're a Tom Thibodeau team, should have a top 10 defense just by rolling out of bed. And since he went to the 9-man rotation, the Knicks are 11th in defensive rating. So they're almost there. So, yep, that's what I said. So as much as I can victory lap about Jalen Brunson, you can throw that in my face, which one person on Twitter who shall remain nameless does all the time. And this was why I spin the block on him as much as I do, but that's another conversation for another day. So that's mine.
Okay, yeah. So for me, predictable, I'm sure. I thought that RJ Barrett would have been an all-star this year. I wasn't by myself on that hill. That's the first thing. I think a lot of people, especially after watching what RJ Barrett did to close this season in year 3, thought he would come out year 4 guns blazing and be an all-star. And we saw the glimpses. Let's be clear. Just 3 weeks ago, this guy had 30 in basically a must-win game against the Los Angeles Lakers. Played a really good game against Miami recently, but he is still consistently inconsistent on offense. The defense has gone from promising to non-existent in 2 years, which has been the epitome of disappointment, I think, especially for a lot of Knicks fans. And then shout out to Prez from the Strickland. He had a really good thread about RJ Barrett's performance against Cleveland, which I think is the last time we saw him play basketball. And man, the athleticism I did not see that coming from him. Like, I did not see him being such a poor athlete I don't know if it's the weight. I think I saw recently somebody tweeted a picture. I don't know who, so I'm sorry for not shouting you out, but somebody tweeted a picture of RJ Barrett at Duke. and him now, they're like two different human beings. He put on so much weight.
Mensa, is that a real? I know you watched them closely at Duke. Is that a real? Because you know how they have those Zion photos where it's like, yeah, Zion's not like 500 pounds. Come on, chill. Like, you guys did something to this photo. like, is it like that kind of thing, or was he really that thin at Duke?
I would have to go back and look at like actual footage, but to me it was stark. And I guess this might just be my own biases like coming through because I didn't actually do the homework. I was like, yeah, that has to be it. Yeah, no, but he does look noticeably slower. I didn't think elevation was going to be a problem for him coming out, but like when you're getting your shot blocked by random Cleveland Cavalier, I think it was like Chetty Osman blocking your shot, like that's not what you want. This has been the season from hell for RJ Barrett relative to expectations, because when you step back and you look at it, it's like, it's really not that bad. But in terms of like impact metrics, in terms of where we expected him to be, in terms of, he just got paid, he is not the player that we wanted him to be. And I teeter on like optimistic and disappointed with him these days. I'm still 100% RJ Barrett's corner, but it's like, man, if he were as good as Zion, as Ja, as Darius Garland, like if he was that level of basketball player, the Knicks would be going to the NBA Finals this year. Like let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. So for him to not be there with where the team has been, with the team we built in terms of talent around him, in terms of fit, it's a different story. But the talent that is around RJ Barrett, if he was there, like, man, oh man. But that was easily my worst prediction, is that RJ Barrett was going to be an all-star this year. And it's not that he was a complete and total bum, but yeah, he didn't sniff it.
Definitely a tough call. I mean, I still have hope for RJ. I know you do too, Mensa. But yeah, that he didn't take the leap yet this season. And my worst prediction is probably because I didn't listen to Mensa at the beginning of the season. And I called the Knicks to have a 42 win team this season.
Would it be like the Atlanta Hawks? Or the Minnesota Timberwolves?
One of those teams below us. I don't know who they are anymore. We don't pay attention to them, right, Shawn? So
we don't worry about teams behind us.
I don't even know who's back there. Yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't listen to Mensa at the beginning of the season. I thought the Knicks would have a 42 win team this season. And I can explain my rationale for it. I didn't expect this level from Jalen Brunson. I thought he would be good. I thought his contract, I thought he would play at the value of his contract, not way surpassed it. I thought he would play at the value of his contract, which would not make him a top 10 point guard in the NBA, but more like a top 15, top 17-ish guy. I think he's like number 16 in average per year value on his contract, and he is far surpassing that value. I expected a regression to his talent level from Julius Randle. I didn't expect him to be as bad as he was last season, but I didn't expect him to be better than he was in the We Here season. I did not see that coming. I didn't see Randle putting it all together offensively, changing his shot diet so aggressively, and becoming almost an entirely different player in terms of like his play style, with how consistent he was at getting into the paint, getting fouled, making and ones, being efficient, being effective, getting downhill, being just the bully that we know that he could be. I didn't see him putting it all together this way. So I expected positive regression from him. I didn't expect it to come at this level. And finally, the big one is I expected the Tibbs that we had last year. This Tibbs this year is not the same Tibbs we had last year. And I just want to be clear. I think a lot of people do this, and I'm definitely I'm definitely someone who is culpable for this as well. But people take victory laps because look, Tibbs is great and you guys were wrong. To me, I think both things are right. I don't think Tibbs was very good last year. I think he made a lot of poor decisions. I think he had bad rotations. I think he was too stingy and rigid. I think that some of the schematic things that he was doing were not working well, and he didn't change from them. And I think he cost them some games last year, to be honest. This year, Tibbs should be in contention to get some votes for Coach of the Year. He's done an amazing job. I didn't expect Emmanuel Quickly to play as much as he has. I didn't expect Quentin Grimes to play as much as he has. I expected Evan Fournier to probably start for most of the season. So yeah, I didn't see this kind of turnaround from the combination of Tibbs and Randall. And I didn't see this level from Jalen Brunson. I never had an issue with the contract. I thought the contract was good. I didn't think the contract was a steal, was literally a steal. Like it changes our trajectory having a point guard at this level on like $100 million contract, and Brunson's opting out. I remember, early on it was like, yeah, and if Brunson opts out in his last year, then that would have meant, that's a great contract. We know now after midway through the first season, Brunson opted out. He's opting out. He's going back for another contract. So a steal of a contract. I think those are the things that I got wrong, and should have listened to Mensa.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you say, especially that last part about agreeing. But I do want to say that the only thing that I don't necessarily agree with is that this is a different coach from last year. I think his situation changed as far, and then I want to credit Shawn here because he always says that Tibbs with his back against the wall is like Red Holzman. He turns into like Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich, and like that's when all the ingenuity comes out and all like the smart decisions that we were screaming about for such a long time. I do want to say that Knicks Twitter was right. Tom Thibodeau was wrong. And I will go to my.
We got to throw that in.
You know what? I actually, speaking of Tibbs, that reminds me of it wasn't really a prediction that went wrong, but I remember the Knicks wall at the beginning of the season said, "Give us your hottest take." And I thought of this take and I posted it, and I'll read it for you. And the take was, Tom Thibodeau will be fired after a 117-91 home loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, dropping the Knicks to 8-16. The loss, spurred by Donovan Mitchell's 41-12-9 in front of a hostile, borderline toxic MSG crowd, proved to be the final straw for owner Jim Doan sitting courtside. And to think, if they lost that
almost
game,
happened.
That would have happened.
Turns out that was a game that changed the season.
And I remember I was in Las Vegas that weekend for a reunion, and I remember watching the Dallas game and then saying to myself, like, wow, like this is really going to happen tomorrow. I can't, but now granted, they weren't 8-16, but they were 10-13 at the time. And I was like, I can't believe that's gonna happen. Now it didn't, and clearly I got it wrong, but I'm glad I got it wrong. But wow, like that was crazy. That was crazy.
I will say you had the turning point of the season absolutely nailed. You knew that the season was going to turn on December 4th against the Cavs. It just turned the opposite way. And I think we're all happy about that.
Yeah, it just seemed too obvious because, players, one, like to show off in the Garden, two, like to make up fake beefs to against the Knicks to show out at the Garden. And I was like, okay, now the guy who never asked for his trade to New York is now going to act like New York didn't want him and go crazy. So, I mean, he tried, 8 of 22 though, but whatever. So.
Hopefully we see more of those 8 of 22s coming up soon.
From your lips to God's ears.
And let's kind of close on this very last topic. Again, season recap, kind of finish up here. What's the thing that surprised you the most? You, Shawn, and Mensa, and myself, about the next season? I mean, there's a lot of candidates. I mean, we kind of touched on some that could be candidates, but I'm just curious, if you had to choose one thing that surprised you the most about this next season, what would that be?
For me, it was, this kind of like tied to each other. Mitchell Robinson's consistency and maturity took me by absolute shock. I thought that once he got paid, we were looking at like when NFL players get paid their first contract and then like fall off a cliff. I thought that was it for him. He was going to, get his contract and kind of just loaf on his God-given ability. To see Mitchell Robinson be the anchor of this defense the way he has, which we've all known was there, but I was a Mitchell Robinson doubter. And then this season, I even predicted that at the end of the season, Isaiah Hartenstein would supplant him in the starting lineup, which isn't my worst take, just because Isaiah Hartenstein's been really good. And if he was a starter, we wouldn't be worse off for it. But a lot of it had to do with my doubt of Mitchell Robinson. So to see what he's been able to do as like our anchor, and then on top of that, with how good he's been defensively, see this team is like what 18th in defense for the season. Like we're top 10 since well, not top 10, 11th, as Shawn just said, since December 4th, since we went to the 9-man rotation.
We're 18th in defensive rating this year overall.
18th right now. Like for that to have been the case with him playing so well, I guess I underestimated how bad on defense some of the other starters would be, who I'm not going to talk about right now. But yeah, no, Mitchell Robinson has been the surprise of the season. And although like there are, and I think Mackie tried to do this on last night's post game, try to like point to who has been like as far as the blame chart goes, like what slice do you give, like who gets a bigger slice in like the why the season went so well. I think Mitchell Robinson has been, I want to say just because it's so hard, but he's been very instrumental in our success this year. And I remember even you, XJ, you were saying that when he got hurt, like the season might have tanked, but then credit to the Knicks, it didn't, because he's just been so rock solid all year.
I have one, and I have an honorable mention. My honorable mention is actually another one of my predictions that did not come true, and that prediction was that either one of Obi Toppin or Julius Randle will not be on the team past the trade deadline. And I said that because I was actually at the preseason game when they played the Pacers, and when Obi did the through the legs dunk, and my son was there, and my son was at the game, and that was a moment he became his favorite player. And I remember just listening to the crowd go nuts for him to do everything in the Obi chants. And coming off of the season before, I was like, dude, this is not tenable. This is not sustainable. So it's honorable mention because the reason why that prediction did not come true, I did not foresee coming, which was Julius Randle becoming all-star again and all-NBA again, most likely. But the one thing I'm surprised of the most, and this is for me, number one, for bullet. I am now going to run off the list of teams who have a better offensive rating than the New York Knicks this season. The Sacramento Kings. That's it. That's the list. The New York Knickerbockers under Tom Thibodeau are second in offensive rating. Are we in a simulation?
And not only is it crazy that the New York Knicks are second, but the Kings are first. What NBA are we in? This is nuts.
Under Mike Brown and Tom Thibodeau are coaching the Kings have the best offense in the history of the league. New York might be too, because a couple weeks ago they were like seventh all time. So
not on my bingo card. Not on my bingo card.
Nope. So that's mine. I cannot believe that. And that's why, to the point that Mensa said earlier, Tom Thibodeau, it's in there. It's in there. But you gotta freaking push him to the edge. He has to be teetering on the edge to get it out. It's just 3-17 in February last year. I'll never forget it.
Well, that's a perfect segue to mine, because Shawn, I have the same exact one. Is the Knicks offensive rating. That was my exact biggest surprise of the season. I like to look at a adjusted offensive rating, which accounts for strength of schedule. By that, the Knicks are third. I have the third highest, best offensive rating to Philadelphia. Either way you look at it, top 2, top 3 offensive rating. I didn't see that coming. I mean, you could have given me 50 predictions for things that would happen, and I would not say the Knicks would have a top 2 or 3 offense in the NBA. What has happened is that the Knicks ball control, keep track of the ball, keep possessions. That style of offense has been amazingly effective. The Knicks have the second in the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage. But as we know, offensive rebounding percentage doesn't correlate with high offensive rating. So it's not necessarily that teams that have a really great offensive rebound percentage just have great offenses. That does not correlate. That does not follow. It is the whole entire picture, the system from the New York Knicks that works extremely well. They've gotten their effective field goal percentage up to 19th. It was like down at like around 25th in the NBA, which is about what it was last year. I think they were like 26th last year, but they don't turn the ball over. 5th in turnover percentage. They get, as we mentioned, a ton of offensive rebounds, 2nd in offensive rebound percentage. They get to the free throw line, 8th in free throw rate. All of these things just combined to give the Knicks a top 2 or 3 offensive in the NBA. And I did not see that coming last year. They were the 24th offense in the NBA. To go from 24th to number 2 or 3, like with few major lineup and roster changes, besides adding a guy like Jalen Brunson and changing the way, like, I mean, honestly, a roster change can be considered the Julius Randle shot diet from last year to this year is like a different player that we have now, a much more efficient and effective player. So yeah, I didn't see that coming. That has blown me away, and I've been nothing but excited about it. So we'll see how things translate to the postseason. But that's the biggest one for me. Mensa.
Yeah. Larry Markkinen is the most improved player. Let's just call it. But the New York Knicks going from 24th and to 2nd, that is Jalen Brunson's most improved player.
Crazy.
That is his argument right there. Every year since Julius Randle has been with the New York Knicks, 3 out of 4 years, the Knicks were bottom 10 in offense. Julius Randle centric offenses. Bottom 10 the first year, bottom 10 the second year. The We Here season, we were bottom 10 in offense. Last year, we were bottom 10 in offense. To add Jalen Brunson to a roster that has been mainly static, we've made some changes to the rotation, but this roster hasn't been flipped night and day, at least not from last year. To add Jalen Brunson to this offense and to watch us go from 24th to 2nd, and we're ISO heavy. This isn't like, I'm sorry. Tom Thibodeau is not Sean McVay. Like he's not reinventing offense out there. For Jalen Brunson to come to this team and for that to be that's it right there. 24th to 2nd. Wow, that is a shocker.
And so I just looked up most highest offensive rating in the history of the league. The Knicks have the 3rd highest offensive rating in the history. In the 70, this is what, the 76th season, 77th season of NBA basketball. Now, granted, to be fair, 5 of the top 10 of all time are this season, so take that with a grain of salt. But it's literally number 1, the Sacramento Kings, who have hit 100 more threes than the Knicks have this season, and number 2 is the 2020-2021 Brooklyn Nets, who had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden all on the same team. And the New York Knicks with Julius Randle and RJ Barrett and Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson and Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley and Evan Fournier and Derrick Rose are 3rd all time. In freaking sane.
Yeah, it really is crazy how, these New York Knicks have surprised us as fans. But I want to just take some time to shout out all the other fans that we surprised. So, in order, people in Detroit, you thought your team would be better than us. How'd that work out?
Detroit might make the play-in.
Charlotte, I'm pretty sure you guys thought you'd be better than us. Trailblazers fans told me I was on crack when I suggested that Julius Randle would be a good fit with Damian Lillard. Wizards fans, you guys thought you'd be better than us. Pacers fans, how's it going? The Utah Jazz, yeah, you guys. Oh, we don't need the New York Knicks. We're gonna be better than. No, yeah. Oklahoma City, you guys are cool. I'm not gonna fight you guys or anything.
Or real quick about the Jazz, well, we're trying to tank. You couldn't even get that part right.
Stuck in the middle.
Shout out to Tommy Beer, who pointed out that, like, yo, how did they find themselves in the middle? How did they find themselves in the middle? Crazy.
Thank you, Larry Markkinen. Okay. Chicago fans. Moving on. Dallas fans, how you doing? Toronto. Yeah, sorry. What do you guys call it? The Raptor foot? The Euro step is the Raptor foot? The Canada step?
Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. That's a thing. They call it the Raptor foot.
I had never heard the Raptor foot.
Step?
That sounds
no. Shawn, we were in because you were in a space. Remember, we lost, and I tuned into that space, and they were like the Canada step. I'm like, okay, Canada stepped off. How about that? The Minnesota Timberwolves, how's it going? Los Angeles Lakers, the most insufferable fan base in all of basketball. Yeah, you guys are worse than us.
Let's chill out the Lakers. The Lakers.
No.
Mid-Atlanta. Mid-Atlanta. How's it going, Trae Young? How's it going?
Not all progression is linear.
DeJounte Murray. Knicks fans wanted DeJounte Murray. How's it going? How's it going in Atlanta? Keep going. The Pelicans. I'm gonna leave the Pelicans alone. Golden State, worse than the New York Knicks. How we doing? The Clippers, worse than the New York Knicks. My favorite motherfuckers to hate. The Miami Heat. Heat culture. How we doing? How are we doing? Your team is gonna finish worse than the New York Knicks. Have a disaster. How about that? Brooklyn Nets. We laughed at you all season. I don't need to keep laughing. Let's keep going. The Phoenix Suns are worse than the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 teams right now have a better record than the New York Knicks. And I was told that we would be lucky. We would be lucky to be 20th in the NBA. So I'm going to take my time because I don't know if I'll ever get this moment again. Life is short, but God spare life. I'm sure I'll see a lot of good Knicks seasons, but I did want to take my time to say everybody who thought you were going to be better than the New York Knicks and you were not, you took us for granted, and now we don't speak playing. So have a good day.
I just want to give a shout out to the Atlanta Hawks who mortgaged their future for a player who took them from 8th to 8th. I just want to Imagine mortgaging your future to go from 8th to 8th. You love to see it.
8th this year means a little more, I guess, but I mean, still in the middle. The record right now for the Atlanta Hawks is okay. They're no longer at 500, 41 and 39. I think they're the definition of mid. Sucks to be you guys.
I want to say one last thing. And this is we may look back on the day. You know what? I'm going to save it. I'll just say this. GMAC, can we have a Patreon podcast where we talk about the rest of the league? Because I know the rest of the league discussion is for Patreon. I got some shit I want to get off about the rest of the league. So I will politely ask that we get one Patreon pod this summer because I got some stuff to get off of my chest about the rest of the league.
I like that idea. I am definitely down for that.
Right there,
definitely down for that. Wow, what a way to close things out. Thank you for running through that extensive list of teams who are worse than the New York Knicks this year. A shockingly long list of teams who are worse than the New York Knicks this year. Great. Appreciate that, Mensa. To wrap things up, this was Casual Friday. Thank you to my co-host, Shawn with a dub, Mensa with an S. I'm XJ with an XJ. This is going to be the last Casual Friday of the season where we focus on the regular season. We are ready to leave the regular season behind us. Next week's Casual Friday would be a postseason preview as we get in on all the exciting KFS content that we have coming next week. Any last words from either of my co-hosts?
So you mean next week we get to talk about the playoffs?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, listen, like XJ said, that's all we got. Make sure to check us out next week. Make sure to check out Study Hall will be on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Myself and Chris Persiani will be talking about, we'll probably do a little player preview there. I'll probably dunk on some people who are still crying about Donovan Mitchell. There will be a game on Sundays, so most likely Jeremy and John will record on Monday. They'll probably have a good big playoff preview. We'll probably not XJ. GMAC will probably have another pregame pod about the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's going to be a lot of them coming up soon. And also, if you didn't check out Dream Draft Rules Everything Around Me with Chris Bresciani, please check that out. The content is a bit evergreen because obviously the draft is a bit of a ways away. So make sure you check that out. And did I forget any of our content? Oh, if you're not a patron, please sign up to become a patron. The minimum, the mellow tier, $7 a month. That gets you access to our playbacks. That gets you access to an extra newsletter from John. And that gets you access to an extra pod with John and GMAC, where they discuss everything except the New York Knicks. That's our mellow tier, $7 a month. The Monroe tier at $15 a month gives you, well, actually, no, the Ewing tier gets you at the town hall. That's $33 a month. I forget the difference between the mellow tier and the Monroe tier, but trust me, you get more stuff.
The Monroe tier gets you access to the town halls.
Oh, it does. All right. So that means the Ewing tier gets you access to John and GMAC's text messages. So you can read those and then just be completely amused.
And shout out to the fire playoff tees that we got on sale right now too, by the way. Try to grab those so you can get them in time to rock them for the first round.
Yes, get some merch. Go to @Knicks Film School. That's Nick Film SKOOL to get our merch. There's t-shirts, there's hoodies, there's tank tops. You might want to get tank tops. This gun show season coming soon, so you can go ahead and do that. All right. So for XJ and for Mensa, I'm Shawn for W. Thank you for watching. Knicks Nation, let's ride.